Okay, good afternoon, everybody, board. Nice to see all of you. Uh, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at this time. And first thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda, the action items. So if somebody will make a motion, please.
As printed. Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve the agenda. Any discussion?
I'm sorry, Carrie, I didn't hear if anyone seconded or not.
It was all broken up.
The sound was breaking up.
Why don't we just put Gary down there? There's a second for the record. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And any negative? That motion is adopted. Now we have informational reports, and the first one we have is the facility use during the COVID-19 period, and we'll let Tom Albertson brief us on that, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to update you as we're now in stage 2 of the Rebound Idaho, which means that gatherings of less than 10 are permitted. We've had a request from a few outside user groups, and then to slowly have some internal user groups start using some of our facilities. So I felt it was important for the board to know what we've done in lieu to make that happen. We had our attorneys draft an addendum to our facility use permit, basically assuring that the outside user groups are adhering to all of the hygiene practices, everything that is required for anything to be opened according to the rebound guidance and the health district's guidance. So we have an addendum there. And then in addition to that, every individual within their group then does have to fill out a waiver, which then basically says that they're using our facilities basically with the idea that we are in a pandemic. So for external user groups, we've added those two pieces to our facility use. And then for our internal user groups, no group may use our facilities without submitting a plan to that building administrator that they need to adhere to. And again, that plan is in alignment with all the proper sanitation, adhering to the group size, and every protocol as far as social distancing. So anyway, that's kind of where we are in the facility use. And I thought it was important that as we move into stages, that our facilities will be requested more and more. So stage 2 goes through this week through May 29th. And I believe the governor will make a determination of whether or not it goes to stage 3, which would then allow between 10 to 50 people. So that's kind of where we are, but I just wanted to let you know that we have put some extra measures in for safety and adhering that our facilities are meeting the standards for opening. So, any questions?
Great. Thanks, Tom. Questions?
I have one question. Is
Yes, Jody.
an amendment that we need to make a motion on?
I don't believe so. It's just an amendment. Yeah. It's an amendment to our already facility use paperwork that they have to fill out. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think it makes sense to what you've drafted here looks good to me. So.
Right. Yeah, you have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Tom, we'll move right into the next one, the summer school plan.
Yeah. So as we traditionally have as a summer school, and this is usually for students grade 8 through grade 11, could be grade 12. But basically, our traditional summer school is a program that's run through our alternative high school. State Department of Education allows this. Mainly, this is for an opportunity for students who are behind credits for graduation to make up those credits. And I know it's a little different because we've been in the soft closure time, but we're really targeting and offering this opportunity for students who were behind credits before we even went into the soft closure. So we're just working on that as far as our enrollment list. The maximum number, and again, we would be in, I believe, stage 4 if we continue to move in these stages before summer school would be in session. But the documents that were provided to you, and I want to thank Principal Jeff Penrose from Lake Pend Oreille High School for putting this plan together. And as I'm not going to sit here and read this plan to you, but it does adhere to all the social distancing practices, making sure that any student who is not feeling well is isolated into a situation. Summer school is held at Sandpoint High School in 3 different computer labs, and we will be spacing, or usually it's 2, we're going to move it into 3, so that we will be spacing and having a 6-foot distance between the computers, and we use an online platform. So the documents you have provided are the plan that Jeff put together in adherence to Panhandle Health's requirement. And then also you have a letter from Panhandle Health basically giving their endorsement for this plan. And I just thought it's important. It's kind of our first take at working with Panhandle Health on an educational program that we would be putting back into our schools. And just want to see if you have any questions along those lines.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions, Geraldine?
I have it's kind of a superficial question. The IR thermometers that they're using, do we have very many of those on hand in the district at this stage?
Not a lot. We have one at every school.
Okay.
So we're not in an abundance of them, but we do have a thermometer at every school.
So they're well positioned to be able to do this for their summer school group.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And again, the maximum would be up to 60 students, and we may not have 60 students. So, but that would be the capacity that we would have to hit the social distancing there.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any other questions from the board? Okay, if not, we'll move right into fall preparation update, Tom.
So again, it's the $64 million question is what school going to look like in the fall? And I just, I'm not here to reveal any big answers because it's too premature at this time. But I do want you to know that Governor Little did come out today in a conference, teleconference he had, or a meeting he had, basically saying that opening schools in the fall was one of his 3 high priorities. And again, a lot of this is still unknown. The State Board of Education will be working with the governor's office, and we've got a timeline of around June 30th when we may know what those criteria are. And we could spend a lot of time before that on what ifs and what different scenarios might look like. Also the CDC did just put out some considerations, and they do call it a consideration when you're reopening schools in the fall. But there's so many variables, and as we speak now, we're still at 4 cases in our community with no new cases in, I don't know, it's been 3 weeks, a month. It's been a long time. So again, there's so much information that we don't know. And to really put it in perspective, the beginning of September when school is going to open is 90 days away. So what things are going to look like in 90 days could be a lot different than what they look like today. So I know parents in the community are very interested in knowing what school is going to look like. Our preference is that we open schools and we're in a normal fashion. We know that that probably will look at least we will always continue the increased sanitization, hygiene practices, all of those issues. But as far as if we're going to have to do anything different as far as social distancing or things that we still need to wait for some updates and some guidance. But I still think it's something that's on the community's mind, and I want to keep this as an ongoing dialogue and share any new information as it starts to come my way.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I think the big thing will be communication with students and parents during the summertime when
Right.
You're not in daily contact with everybody.
Right.
To be able to get the word out. So
yeah, and I would definitely do that. Like I said, is the State Board of Education has not put out their criteria yet. Once we have that, then I feel that at least then we know what boundaries to work with. But there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes, but I don't want at this point in time, I don't want any speculation for anybody to put something out there that may not happen. So okay. I just need people to be patient.
Good. So. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Geraldine? No. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to action items. The first one being the consent agenda. So if we could have a motion on that, please.
So I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Discussion on any of the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, there is one amendment to the minutes for the meeting on April 28th. In the first paragraph titled Budget Workshop, that first paragraph, there is a word circumvented in there that should say configured.
Okay.
And I've spoken with our clerk, and that's the change that needs to be in place on that paragraph.
Okay, thank you. Anything else anybody like to bring up?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the item for the bid for the new school buses,
yes.
Are we going to consider school buses with seat belts?
I do not believe so.
So if I could comment on that, I know last year we had a complete discussion about that, especially in reference to its costs and its efficacy here in the area, and we decided not to purchase buses last year. We had this full discussion on it. We decided not to purchase the buses with seatbelts, and these buses that are quoted here are not with seatbelts based on that decision we made last year as a board.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
The amended.
Aye.
The amended.
As amended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
The motion as amended, of course. Okay, we'll get down to board items. The first one we have on there is designate school psychologists as a hard to fill position. Tom?
Yeah, I can address that. So the State Department of Education requires that the school board act on this, allowing us to designate that our school psychologists are hard to fill. And then that allows for more reimbursement or to be able to pay them a stipend to increase their salary, which helps in the recruiting and retaining of school psychologists. So it's something that we've done multiple years, and it's just something that every year annually the board has to approve in order to receive that funding.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve this item.
I would make a motion that we designate the school psychologist as a hard to fill position.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this recommendation as stated. Any further discussion at all? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that's carried by a unanimous vote. Thank you. Next is a resolution 2008, affected ADA waivers. And again, Tom, do you have that one?
Yeah. So again, the board needs to approve a waiver for our average daily attendance. We are ending our distance learning on May 29th. And I believe in the last board, we discussed the reason behind that is that we have a lot of Chromebooks, textbooks, and need that week of closure to get those devices back. So with that, we're asking for a waiver of average daily attendance from the State Board of Education for those remaining school days.
Okay, thank you. If somebody will entertain a motion, please.
I would make a motion that we approve resolution 2008 affected ADA waiver as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 2008 as stated. Any further discussion on that?
I have one question for Tom.
Yes.
Is this pretty standard when you've discussed this with the other principals in the North region here, that most of them are closing a little early and then requesting this waiver?
Some are going, some are, I can tell you, some neighboring districts are going until June 5th. Others are going May 29th. It just varies district to district on what they felt like they needed to do. But this is purview of the State Department of Education that we are supposed to fill these waivers out. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And that motion is adopted. Next item we have is the second reading of policy. It's 2420, Title I, Family Engagement, and it was presented by Principal Jackie Johnson.
Hi, if I could just remind the board, and Principal Jackie Johnson wasn't able to make it this evening, but there were no questions or discussions or changes at the first reading. So if there are no additional ones since first reading, you could entertain a motion for approval.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adopt 2420, Title I, Family Engagement.
So I would move to adopt revised policy 2420, Title I, Family Engagement as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve policy 2420, Title I, Family Engagement as presented. Any further discussion on that item? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, and that motion is adopted. Now we're down to announcements. Superintendent?
Yeah. So June 1st, our elementary schools are, and I think we mentioned this last time, but it's ongoing, and the will be the last day to be giving summer enrichment material to the elementary students, and also giving awards, T-shirts. I could say our physical education teachers had our elementary students map out a 5K, and they'll get their T-shirts and awards. So that's kind of a celebration day on June 1st. And then we start next week on June 3rd will be the first graduation ceremony, though it will be modified, will be at Clark Fork High School. And then June 5th will be at Sandpoint High School. Very similar as we discussed last time. Kind of a drive-in type of model for approval of Panhandle Health District, given the time frame and the stages that we're in. And again, Lake Pondere High School has moved theirs out to June 15th. So Kelly will be reaching out to you, see who will be attending or who will can attend. any of these ceremonies. So those are kind of the announcements I have today.
Okay, thank you. Andrea, do you have anything to add?
No, I've been listening in, but not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, do you have anything for us?
I guess I would just say that the first field work from our external auditors, which is required by law, occurred last week. They were here in person, and we have our budget hearing at the next board meeting, June 9th at 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the clerk? Do you have anything for us?
No, thank you.
Okay, any board members? Any announcements from you?
I'm excited to see you all in person on June 9th.
I second
Yes.
that.
My gosh, that will be nice.
That'd be
Well-
different.
Okay. Well, no further items. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.